nice to be here with you. It's been a little while since we have met, but good to catch up with you. Eliud, would you just like to tell the viewers something about yourself, how you got involved in project management, and so on?
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, I believe that life is a project. That has been my driving force because really, when you understand that a project is temporary, a project is unique, and you reflect on your own life that it is temporary and it is unique, why not learn some great things that you can do in this life that will help you to create the kind of impact and deliver value to others. That has been one of the inspirations for me. So I got involved in project management first by the many school projects I had to do in university, and realized in order to cope, you have to have some method to the madness. I would have taken a course at the Mona School of Business in Jamaica, which covered the PMBOK as it was, version 4. And I realized that the software development that I would have done up to that point, the management consulting related activities, surveys that I used to do, all these were also projects. And to meet great minds from the Project Management Institute has also been a source of inspiration to see how we can actually create new development, create new innovation, and be able to respond to change by mastering how we actually have projects managed. So in the most recent years, PMI has had this thrust on building this project economy. And of course, our world economy and our Jamaican economy here, as well as in Germany, in the US, we've gone through roller coasters of recessions, of even in this time in terms of pandemics. And I've really realized that there's a strong connection between what a project is and the growth that we intend to produce as a country, globally. So there's a strong connection between being able to manage change, being able to be a part of a transformation process, and what projects provide and what project management provides to help you cope and thrive in this dynamic environment.
Yeah, so it's definitely very relevant to talk about change and to talk about being relevant in this economy when there's just constant changes. But tell me something, my students, they've been reaching out about the PMBOK version 7 because there seems to be an evolution. Since there's so much change, everything is changing and we have this new perspective on things. But what are your perspectives on the project management evolution throughout the years? How do you see it? Do you think we're at the right place? Do you think we're going in the right direction?
Yeah, good question. Well, project management as a discipline has gone through a lot of changes. If I asked you, when did project management start? You may just think it's just a century ago, but of course, projects have been done from the Egyptian pyramids. So there has been, project management has been something that people have been doing for quite a while. Modern project management, that is in the last, say, century, from Henry Gant, who would have produced the first warship for Britain, to the Industrial Revolution that would have now caused the entire world to reorganize how it produces. Projects had to be done differently, and especially because of the introduction of technology from back then and even now. How you do projects, the tools that you have to actually do projects, the kind of training, awareness, and competence that you can now receive, and the kinds of people that you work with, the diverse of people that you work with, have all been key drivers in how project management as a discipline has changed. So from 1987, right, when the PMBOK was first approved, PMBOK is the project management body of knowledge, was first approved. There have been additions and changes that reflect the times we're living in and reality on the ground that project managers experience. So I'm really happy that project management has been responding to the changes, because if project management as a discipline remains constant, it will become stagnant and irrelevant. And I know that in recent times, especially the last 5 years, the project management discipline and profession practitioners have been having to grapple with the pace of technology. Andrea, before eras were defined one millennia after the other, 1,000 years, and then another 1,000 years would be another era. And then it used to be centuries, like every 2 centuries or so, then you have a new era. But now, eras are changing every decade because of the pace of technology. We have heard of the fourth industrial revolution and what that has to bring. And how us as project managers and those that we manage, we have to be able to cope with that change, understand that change quickly, to respond to that change in a very relevant way, and to also think ahead of the value that we're trying to bring. So more than ever, the literature in project management has shifted from just the mere management controlling kind of emphasis to project leadership. Because if projects are supposed to drive change, that means you have to lead change, which means if you're developing a new software system, right? It's not just about producing that system and just dropping it on the organization and see what happens. No, now you need to be aware of culture, what people are thinking, how they're feeling, how are they adapting to this change? Are you also cognizant of the persons who may be left behind because of this change? This is now a concern of project managers. One of the things which I've been really happy in seeing the change in the discipline, the concepts, the knowledge and the skills is even something as basic as empathy, right? Now, this word never existed.
Speaking my language, Eliud.
Yes, never existed in the project management body of knowledge, because that's not logical. That's not technical stuff. So it doesn't belong.
You're saying that the PMBOK version 7 is now speaking about empathy?
Oh yeah. Yes.
And it is addressing leading change and the fact that no, we are not just managing and controlling projects, but we're actually trying to create this culture around the change and ensuring that we're taking care of the people involved. Wow, this is awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me something. So for example, for students who are preparing for the, okay, well, maybe you can go through and just explain to me what's the new knowledge areas, what are the new, compare the PMBOK version 6 to maybe the PMBOK version 7.
Right.
And because I've had students who they're preparing for the exam and they really want to know, like, what are some of the things that they can expect in terms of first the knowledge area, and then maybe you can talk about the exam itself.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, just to give a little perspective, kind of segueing from the previous question that you asked into this other question, project management started with 3 primary colors. No, they're not really colors, but you know your 3 primary colors, right? Red, blue, and yellow. And those 3 primary colors, Andrea, were what we now call the triple constraint, right? You have scope, you have time, and you have cost. And that's really where project management as a discipline and in terms of knowledge areas really started. This iron triangle, right? That all project managers have this triangle up to now measure, how much work they're doing and how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. And once you're able to dial in on those 3 areas, then you are a project manager. Now, things have changed in the discipline, and therefore those changes have been reflected in the exam, the latest exam. And I'll just walk through some of these changes a little gradually, just so that your viewers can at least appreciate where the discipline is coming from and why we are at the place that we're at. So I did speak about the triple constraint: scope, schedule, and cost. As the PMBOK, the body of knowledge, developed, they spoke about other knowledge areas that were important. They included procurement, right, as one. And then they included risk management, quality as another, right? By version 4, you had 9 knowledge areas of the PMBOK. And then version 5 and version 6 of the PMBOK added stakeholder management, which now meant that it's not just about communicating, it's about engaging stakeholders at the right level, okay? So I'm trying to share with you a little background here. We have been moving from what's considered technical project management, where you know the framework and the process, and you know the triple constraint, and then all the other new constraints are turned into knowledge areas, to now a core focus on engagement, engaging the stakeholder. Because it doesn't matter, there's a saying that you can be so heavily minded that you're no earthly good. So for project management, you can be so project management minded that you're no good to the business and to the stakeholders that need you.
You're touching on a very important point, because I remember once I had an engagement with a customer. Yes. And that engagement taught me a lot, because I went in and I was managing the triple constraints of the project, the scope, the time, the cost. And then I realized that there was something that was even more important, and that was the stakeholder management. I realized then that if my customer was not happy, the project could not have been a success. Even if I did a good job, a perfect job in managing scope, time, and cost, above that, I recognized that my customer needed to be happy. So you're touching on a very good point there, Eliud.
Yes. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. So stakeholders and ensuring that they're engaged is a critical thing, because you can't be so concerned about the deliverable that you're forgetting about the benefit that the stakeholders are to have. So 3 things became very important to PMI during this change from version 5 to version 6, and then the exam content that would have followed. So 1, I just mentioned, is stakeholder engagement. The next thing was benefits management, benefits realization. In other words, a project should not just produce outputs. A project should produce benefits.
So this we're talking about is now in version 7, benefits management.
Right. So this is in version 6, and then now it's developed more into its own section and chapter. Speak about benefits and value. So I'm moving from project managers thinking about outputs and deliverables to project managers thinking about the stakeholder and the benefits, to project managers thinking about the whole delivery of value across there, right?
So value management is now in version 7.
Yes.
Okay,
yes, that's right. Value delivery management and things relating to that. So the outlook of a project manager in the past, and the discipline, and how a project manager was generally expected to be, was one that looks from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. That was your horizon. You didn't look any further beyond when your project ends. Okay? But now, as a project leader, you now have to think about, when this project ends, how will the organization benefit? Okay? And when this project ends, will it leave the organization the same or different? So,
and I'm getting excited about version 7. I'm telling you the truth. I'm really getting excited about it. This is awesome news. This is really awesome news.
Yes.
So, what else is there? What else is new? Anything else
Right. So, yeah. So in terms of the change, there has been a change now from being primarily process-based. So in version 6, there was, you would always remember like page 25, which has the framework, which has the knowledge areas, 10 knowledge areas, and 5 process groups. And there are 49 processes that make up what project management is, okay? The process-based approach. And now we're moving now towards, and this is where version 7 now makes a dramatic shift to what is called principle-based project management. Now, why is it that we need to move from process-based to principle-based? And are we actually moving away from process-based, forgetting about processes and moving to principles? No. But the reason why principles are now overarching above the technical processes is because projects now, PMI has embraced the reality that projects can be done in different ways, at different paces, using different kinds of project cycles. So therefore, it's not a one size fits all.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Eliud, I'm going to touch, when you said that, knowing I am going to touch on my favorite topic.
Yes.
Agility. So I want to hear a little bit, because now you're talking about principles, and you touch the point now we need to be able to manage a change, and we also want to involve the stakeholders and so on. I am now really wondering, where is this agility concept coming in? Is there any mention of it in the PMBOK version 7? How is that?
Absolutely. So Agile, which has a manifesto as its reference point in 2001, has a set of principles, right? And Agile from the very beginning has been principle-based. Why? Because it accommodates the different ways, variations that projects can follow, and having principles allows you to respond to change. It doesn't keep you in a box, right? You're able to apply these principles and transform according to the line of relevance, okay? So having a more principle-centered approach to project management has been something that has been fully adopted in version 7. So what kind of principles?
Yes, I was just going to ask you, what kind of principles are you seeing? You're already on track, yes. Right. What kind of principles are
Okay, so just like how the Agile Manifesto has 12 principles, PMI has now adopted and made some tweaks here and there to call out 12 principles of project delivery. Okay. All right. So let me just give you a few examples of these principles. So the first one is be diligent, respectful, and caring, and be a caring steward. Okay. Now you may be saying, wait, but PMI has always had something called a code of ethics.
Yes.
That has been guiding it. So why is that this needs to be here? It's because based on how the body of knowledge, the standards and the body of knowledge of project management was kind of configured, it was quite segmented. Okay, so you have the processes, and so you master the processes so that you can become a master at project management. And then you have the code of ethics, which now you put on a different hat to think about. But no, that's not how it works in real project management. You have to carry your ethics, you have to carry your kind of respect, caring, ownership, and diligence with you during the project at all times. So this principle number 1 is a light that is switched on in the project manager that is always on. Okay? The next principle speaks about culture, the culture of the team. It says that you should build a culture of accountability and respect. And this is from a team level. So this is moving away from the hierarchical kind of view where accountability is at the top, and me as a project coordinator or project expediter who's on the ground, I'm not the one accountable. So if something goes awry, if a defect occurs, I'm still getting paid, kind of thing. No, you are accountable. Ownership of the results are from the team level, which is really a concept that Agile has always had. Agile has a concept of
what
having
about servant leadership? That reminds me of servant leadership. We're
Absolutely.
all here to serve each other. And
Yes.
there is no boss really on the project. The team is self-organizing and they get the work done in the best possible way. So these are some concepts that it really shows that there is some alignment, and I love that.
Yes.
The PMBOKv7 is now very, very much aligned with the agile concepts. This is sounding really, really exciting.
Yes.
So tell me something, what about the processes? You said the processes are still there. How many processes are now in the PMBOK? Because we know that version 6, right, the 47 processes, right? We had to study that and we had to prepare ourselves.
Yes.
What about the planning process? Is it still in that same order and we have to still remember exactly how it flows? What are the changes in terms of processes?
Okay, all right. So this is what has actually occurred. So first thing, let's understand what is in the PMBOK, in any of the PMBOKs that have ever been produced. You have something called a standard for project management, and then you have the body of knowledge, okay? That's the normal setup. Usually you have the body of knowledge that comes first in the book as you turn the pages, and then you have the standard at the back, okay? Which basically follows the ANSI standards, right? Now, what has occurred now is that for version 7, they have put the standard of project management up at front. And this standard is really a standard of principles for project management. And there are 12 principles. And that's how the version 7 begins. The standard, the principles that all projects ought to embrace, ought to exemplify, and so on. And then it speaks about some specific value delivery themes, right? Which I'll go into shortly. But in addition to the book, which is actually smaller than version 6, right? That made it thinner, so it's easier to read and follow, right? They have the bulk of what would have made up version 6, which are the knowledge areas, the processes, and so on, is now online and available to all PMI members. Okay, this is called the Standards Plus platform. So by the term Standards Plus, it's extending from the principles, the principles that are outlined in the PMBOK, and now showing you different ways of doing projects. So the 10 knowledge areas, the 49 processes, the 5 process groups, planning, executing, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, control, and closing are all there as resources. Oh, I see. To delve into like a sandbox, tailor, look at different examples, templates, videos, different templates and documents, lessons learned documents and registers that you can pull from this resource and apply to your project by always being guided by the principles.
I see. It makes sense. So the 49 processes are still there, still mentioned. And it's really like there's a reference guide now they call in the sandbox, where you can go and you can apply whichever process is relevant for your project, basically, right? Exactly. Oh, I see.
Right.
So can we talk a little bit about the exam itself? So any take on how the exam has shifted or changed?
All right, sure. 6. All right, sure. So I'm going to talk about the exam in just a moment, but let me just at least tighten some loose ends that persons may have as relates to version 7, and it will help you to appreciate why the exam is the way it is that I'll speak about after. So just to kind of summarize, version 6 of the PMBOK, right, was more prescriptive rather than descriptive. In other words, this is how you're going to do it. Not that was a primary emphasis. These are the processes that you should follow, right? Of course, there's a concept called tailoring that version 6 also introduced, but it wasn't fully developed. Okay, the version 6 spoke about how, but not why. Okay, now version 7, as I said, is principle based, which now gives you the why. Why would you want to approach it in this way? It gives you the mindsets. It gives you the guiding actions and behaviors, right? That will help you to deliver projects better, whether in an agile way, a more predictive way, a lean way, a customer-centered design. But it gives you the principles that guide all of those, all right? So version 6 would have stated that this body of knowledge is a body of good practices that can be applied to most projects most of the time. But version 7, being more principle oriented now, is saying that you can apply these principles to any single project.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's more inclusive. Okay, that's very important. And as I said, instead of tailoring being seen as something that you can refer to or consider in version 6, you used to have something called tailoring considerations in version 6. Now, tailoring is a full chapter in version 7, which tells you the different ways you can tailor and what should guide your selection process when you're choosing some processes over others, some charts over others, some tools over others, some techniques over others.
So for the audience, just before you move on, tailoring, just define it for me, just be clear that for the audience.
Tailoring is the selection process that you go through to choose what knowledge areas, what processes, what tools and techniques, what skills are most relevant for your project. So just like when you have a big piece of cloth that you bought and you now want to tailor it into a suit, it's going to be a special cut, right? That fits your project, right? Given the size of your project, the complexity of it, the resources that you have, the other support that you'll be getting from senior management, other functional departments, all those things will help guide you as to how much of the 49 processes, right, in version 6, or how are you going to apply the principles to your specific, unique deliverables that you need to achieve.
All right. Now, is she going to ask this question? Yes. Is there any mention of Scrum?
So yes, and not just Scrum, I mean SAFe, right? And all those other types of agile methodologies are mentioned. There's a nice graph that is shown to show you which ones are more mature in terms of more disciplined versus very accommodative and flexible, and which ones are for smaller types of projects, and the one that can be used at an enterprise level, right? And so it does speak about Scrum specifically, right, as one of the ways that you can approach your agile methodology. PMI has made some big moves in recent times, and PMI has bought out the Disciplined Agile brand, right? And now PMI has developed a certification belt under the Disciplined Agile category, right? So you you would know of PMI's Agile Practitioner certification, right? ACP, Agile Certified Practitioner credential. Now PMI has a full grade, right, or gradient of certifications that lead you towards becoming a disciplined agile master. Okay.
But I want to understand. We know these certifications exist, but is it that the PMBOK version 7 is now including these concepts in there as well? So I don't necessarily. Yeah, there's value in doing the ACP, for example, and the others agile certification on the PMI, but the PMBOK version 7 is also addressing these agile concepts. And
yes, absolutely.
Works good. Right. All right, wonderful.
I mean, all the pretty graphs they call in agile, whether it is radiator graphs, or if it is burn up or burn down charts, or velocity
Yeah.
charts, and how
Yes.
to score your story points and so on, planning poker, all different kinds of approaches to get your project done the way that it should, given the context that you're working in.
Beautiful.
So to the exam now, now there's something called the exam content outline, ECO or ECHO, right? Which guides how you should study for the exam and how the examiners will be configuring the questions, right, in the exam. Exam content outline is usually broken down into domains, right, or categorized in terms of domains, and those domains are broken down into tasks. Now, over the many different editions of the exam content outline, it has been organized into 5 domains. Okay, those 5 domains are the process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, closing. That's for what you used to obtain until the change now, which has been effective since the beginning of this year, where there's a new exam content outline that now governs the exams. Now, this new exam content outline now is organized into 3 domains rather than 5 domains. So these 3 new domains, newly named, are people, process, and business environment, PPB, right? People, process, and business environment. So, well, first thing that you should recognize is that process is still in there. So processes are still important. So don't leave this conversation thinking that, oh, you know, we throw processes out the window and hello, principles. No, 50% of the questions, the 200 questions, are going to be testing you on different processes. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Understanding, you know, how they interact and so on. Okay. Now, the other half is almost completely about people, 42%, close to 50%. And then 8%, a smaller percentage, is dedicated to the business environment. All right. So domains are normally called high summary knowledge areas, right? That's how it's termed. So you should think about project management in these new domains: people, process, business,
and the business. Okay.
So just like what we're speaking about, Andrea, in terms of the trend of project management. Remember I said that it first started with just looking at the triple constraint, and it's very technical. And it wasn't until version 5 that they actually had stakeholder management.
Right.
A little embarrassment, right, to the profession that we considered stakeholders as an afterthought, right? After thinking about cost, schedule, quality, and all those things. There was a reason for it. They had communications management.
We had communications
with stakeholders. But stakeholder engagement is now about engaging the people. So now in this new version of the exam content outline, which now guides what you need to study for the exam, now places almost 50%, 42% of the exam questions focusing on the people, the stakeholders. Now that is revolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we will see some big major improvements in our projects if project managers start to realign themselves with maybe version 7. By the way, for project managers who are already practicing on version 6 and 5 and so on, is there any upgrade path, or how do we do because I mean, it's just a question. I don't know if you have the answer for this one, but what about project managers who are practicing using the whole process-based approach, and now we're moving into this new era, right, where we have to now adapt to this thing of managing people and benefits and value? How do you think we could transition our existing project management professionals into this new way of managing projects?
All right. Okay, good question. So PMI is a learning organization. So much so that PMI now has a learning platform, PMI Learning. Let's type that into Google. It's the first option. It's a learning platform. The first 4 courses that are mentioned: Introduction to Project Management, Introduction to Agile, or Adaptive Life Cycles, something like that. And they have a few others. The first 4 are free. Okay, that's the first thing. So you have direct access to PMI's authorized learning platform and content to quickly learn more. But if you're a PMP, even though you're not required to do the exam again every 3 years when your certification cycle is up, you have to report something called PDUs, Project Development, right? And part of that should be engaging into webinars. PMI owns projectmanagement.org, which has a host of different webinars and content. Also, PMI has has a number of different interactive series that they have come up with, where you can learn from the best in Agile, the different kinds of approaches, and ways that you can adopt some of that into your organization. So as a project manager, you are a lifelong learner, and PMI provides a host of resources and that you can utilize, and will also help you out if you're a project manager professional, a PMP, with your PDUs to keep on top of what's going on in the profession.
Wonderful, thank you. Eliud, thanks for this time, spending this time with me and the wider audience. So it's really been a pleasure. Is there any final word you want to say at this point before we wrap up?
All right, yeah. So I just want to leave you with two F's of management that I think will help you to always have these 2 emphases in mind as you go throughout the project management journey, okay? Because it is a journey, and also to help you in how you're applying this new dimension in viewing the project management domains and so on. And these 2 F's of management are efficiency and effectiveness. So in other words, the whole point why you're seeing all these changes isn't because somebody has a big ego somewhere in PMI or in project management land and they just want to change things so that they look good. No, it's for the reason that we need to organize our projects in a more efficient way. So that's how we need to learn different tools, techniques, both in a predictive and adaptive way. And also to be more effective, where we're focusing on who should receive the benefits, and these benefits should be lasting. The projects that you do need to be legendary, okay? In other words, even if your project is done, another person who needs to do a project can look back at how well you did your project, how many lessons learned, how many templates, how many different documentations, registers, and so on that you would have done, right? So that can assist them in their own project, right? There's yes.
Most importantly, let me add, right? Since we're going version 7, not just that you want to leave these wonderful tools and you want to leave lessons learned, but you want to make sure that you're leaving benefits and value to the organization. This is just like so critical. So when you leave the organization as a project manager, you leave it better than the way how you saw it.
Absolutely.
It's just so critical that
and
they
Andrea,
see so much value in what you deliver.
Yes, and Andrea, there's another thing that I should mention that is important, that is new in 2021 for PMI. PMI now has what we call ATPs, Authorized Training Partners. Before it used to be called REP, Registered Education Provider. No, they have upgraded it to ATP. Now, this is very important. What this means is that if you're doing the project management exam this year, which is of course based on a new structure and so on, this means that you need to take the project management prep course through an authorized training partner for the PMP specifically. CAPM that's not required, okay? But for the project management professional certification, because PMP is the gold standard for project management, PMI wants to secure the quality delivery, especially in light of the new changes, right, through the ATP circuit, right?
I see.
So if you're interested in learning more about ATP, just type in PMI ATP. You'll be able to search for ATP in your area, so that you can begin to study for the PMP exam and pass on the first try.
So let me ask you then, Eliud, does it mean then that persons who had already, qualified with their 35 hours, like maybe 2 years ago, and they want to sit the exam now.
Yes.
Now it's PMBOK version 7. Would the 35 hours on an REP still count towards taking the new PMBOK version 7 exam?
Yes. In terms of the education component of it, yes. However, to pass the PMP, you need to learn the PMI way. So what PMI has done, Andrea, when we're closing, is that a few years ago, PMI felt that project management was kind of leaving them, right? Especially the agile adaptive aspect, okay? So strategically, PMI has bought Discipline Agile, okay? So they're now in the space of agile, and also they have made sure that they own the training delivery of project management. Okay, so they have the platform, they have Standards Plus, and they now have the ATPs that exclusively can teach for the PMP exam course. Okay, and that means that the middle people, right? In other words, you would know about RITA, the RITA exam prep book, the Andy Crow exam prep book, and so on. Those no longer obtain, right, under this PMP, PMI, PMP, ATP, Authorized Training Partner delivery. Okay, that's very important to note. So PMI now has their own exam prep book. Okay, that is only available through the Authorized Training Partner.
Authorized Training Partner Network. This is important. Thank you for that very important point, actually.
Yes, and therefore PMI has their learning platform for this PMP course called the PMI Choice Learning Platform, which provides all the questions that you need to practice, provides all the slides, the exam prep book, lots of templates for you to understand, and specialized spotlight videos that help you to understand information more to help you to succeed in the PMP under this new exam structure.
Okay, wow. Thank you, Eliud. This has really been a very insightful. I mean, I personally had a lot of questions, and this has just clarified. I mean, this, like, it used to be as clear as mud. Now I'm seeing the light, right? And I'm really getting excited about PMBOK version 4, because for my company, we're framework projects, really, because we believe in efficiency and effectiveness, as you talk about it, and just about anything that will get an organization to that point of efficiency. And I'm hearing a lot, based on what you've said, I've heard a lot of useful tools and techniques and new ways of working coming out of PMBOK version 7, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm really looking forward to this.
Oh, yes. And those who are listening, you're being a part of the project management community. It's the most exciting time to be a part of the project management community, because now you'll be positioned to be able to manage virtually any type of project, right? I mean, we used to boast about that. That's, before, learning to become a PMP, you can manage any type of project, but the way that projects are being done now are quite different. And that's why the body of knowledge and the exam content outline had to change. So that, like me, I've been able to manage different types of projects right throughout my career, short career so far, from economic projects, survey projects, to IT, software development, geoinformatics type of projects, to now managing the cybersecurity program for the country, which is another new exciting frontier, especially where technology is going. All with the help of, through PMI, through the body of knowledge, by keeping abreast with the new developments in the project management profession, being connected with project management practitioners that may be ahead of you, so that you can be mentored, so that you can be guided in the right direction, so that you can have a successful career in project management.
Beautiful. Eliud, thank you so much. That's been a pleasure. And I am so excited, and we'll keep in touch. And I'm sure that if my viewers, they want to reach out to you, they can also reach out to you at any time. Yeah, so Eliud is also on LinkedIn, and I'll leave his contact so you can see his page as well. And you see, he has a wealth of knowledge, right? So for those who have further questions, just reach out. Eliud, I'm inviting them to reach out, but I'm sure it's okay with you, right?
Thank you for the opportunity, Andrea. Yes, great talking.
Great talking. Okay, bye. Bye. Okay, bye.